RORY. RORY BRANFORD and Christian Phillips, thanks a lot for being here. I'm particularly interested in this conversation because we were having a conversation just before, during the break, about climate change. This comes at a real crucial time because Trinidad and Tobago may be affected in many ways. The dry season is a lot hotter than usual, and then there's so much flood and rain during the rainy season. Weather that we really haven't seen while we were growing up. I'll go with you first, Rory.
Right, yes. Well, what we have seen has definitely been an upsurge in rainfall, really and truly, right? We're into the rainy season now. And you see it's evident, right? You saw on the weekend a lot of floods all over Trinidad and Tobago, right? A couple months ago, you saw earthquakes, right? That happened in Trinidad and Tobago as well, right? And a bit earlier than that, you saw a lot of hurricanes up in the Caribbean, right? And that seems to be something that is coming with the climate change.
So this conference that you guys have, it aims to really make people aware of it, a meeting of the minds, so to speak, am I right?
Yes, definitely, and it's also geared towards developing a disaster management culture, especially where facilities management is concerned in Trinidad and Tobago.
I like that, developing that culture. How bad are we? Do we even have that culture, Rory?
Well, some of those things are, which would be defined, like, part of one of these segments that we have at the conference is the risk assessment, looking at the Caribbean as a whole and seeing where different member states is at, so that we could notice, what are some of the factors that may be more prone. We have, like, certain active volcanoes in the region. We have, like, people who are more exposed to tectonic plates. We have people who are along the hurricane belt. So with each member state in the Caribbean, we are going to assess and look at exactly, what they are more prone to experience, and look at getting them geared towards creating a disaster management plan as it relates to the business continuity and these things.
Strangely enough, you mentioned earthquake, and Christian, just this past weekend there was a 4.0
yes.
magnitude earthquake in South Trinidad.
Yes, that also. Right, no sustained damages, at least as far as I'm aware. Right, no sustained damages, but there was an earthquake this weekend.
So let's talk a little bit about that culture, because that's not something that Trinidad and Tobago is well equipped with. How are you guys going to go about changing the culture, changing the mentality, changing the thinking behind the way we deal with natural disasters? We're in the rainy season right now.
Yes. Well, basically what we're trying to do at the conference is raise awareness, right? We believe, based on interactions with the local practitioners as well as the regional and international, that the persons are not really aware of natural disasters, how to prepare for them, how to respond during them, and then basically how you recover from them, right? So our intention is really to raise that level of awareness, right? We sort of structured the conference in distinct phases. As Rory mentioned, we looked at the risk assessment. The organization has an opportunity to look at their exposure, their risks, right? And then from there, we looked at planning for a disaster. What could you do? What things you could put in place? And then we will look at developing a plan for business continuity, because at the end of the day, natural disasters would affect the business, right? So you need to have a plan in place, and that's what we'll look at. And then we'll look at what happens after, how you recover from it.
Rory, from where we stand right now, is Trinidad and Tobago and the people of Trinidad and Tobago, do we take natural disasters as serious as we should take it?
At present, I don't say that we do. And I mean, especially when we look at from a business standpoint, right? A lot of businesses don't really tie in this disaster management and the facilities management plan in line with their corporate strategy, right? Statistics have shown businesses that don't recover within the first 5 days after a natural disaster sometimes don't recover. So that's why it's very important for you to have systems in place, in terms of, where's your data stored, is it in the cloud, in terms of where is your fresh water supply, to keep your business going and functional. Because there are certain things that's needed, just in terms of, like, are you in a position to access diesel and these kind of things? Are you aware of who might have a bond outside of MP when that time comes for you to keep your operations up and running? We're talking multinational firms, we're talking local businesses.
What you're talking about as well is a total change in mindset in the way we think about natural disasters and climate change as well. Christian, it takes place between September 18th and 19th, both days. Tell me a little bit about how we can get those people interested in climate change and these climate conferences and these climate talks, which are so important. I think just last or 2 months ago, I was having a conversation on this very same set with someone about climate change. How can people get involved?
Well, what they can do, at least for the conference, that is, again, it is hosted by the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce and Industry, right, in collaboration with the local chapter of the IFMA, right, just the International Facility Management Association, right. So basically what we have registration ongoing, right, through the chamber, right, the Trinidad Chamber of Commerce, right, and basically once you liaise with them, we'll get all the details and they could get involved, really and truly.
You know, Rory, you guys are in this on a day-to-day basis. When you look at everything that has been happening, not only here in Trinidad and Tobago, but especially around the globe, America, especially Europe, melting glaciers so fast, you know, it must alarm you guys. It must be very frightening for you who are in this business on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, definitely, and the reason for that, you're seeing record heat in places that we've never had heat before, like in Alaska.
Heat waves.
And I mean, locally, we haven't really even started to see the effects of, you know, rising sea levels and these kind of things. But, you know, it's coming, and it's coming like a wave. And I guess our ability or inability to be prepared for it is what would be our defining moment. We are trying to get businesses on board and even members of the public, you know, to become aware and to become proactive in terms of taking steps to be responsive to this change.
Christian, I know that you guys really want to get businesses on board in this initiative, and that's great. But do you think our Caribbean governments are doing enough?
Governments, how should I put it? Governments, in my opinion, really more effort should be made, really and truly, to develop, promote the awareness, develop plans, assist organizations in setting up what they need to set up, right, to deal with these natural disasters, because, I mean, sometimes they come with warnings, and then other natural disasters just don't, right? So they really should bring that a bit more to the forefront, in my opinion.
Guys, I really appreciate it. Rory, Christian, thanks a lot for being on the show, and thanks a lot for putting on this conference, which is so key. It takes place between September 18th and 19th. It's going to be a huge conversation on the way that we manage natural disasters. It's always coming, floods, heat waves, you name it. It's always coming across the Caribbean and across Trinidad and Tobago. Now these guys are going to talk about how do we deal with it. It takes place between September 18th and 19th, and we hope that you can definitely make it. You're watching The Morning Brew on CNC3. I'm Ryan Bechu. When we come back, we've got a special interview with Damus for you, and it's going to be one that you don't want to miss. Stick around and you'll see why after this.